In Japan, Mercedes will try to recover from their poor performance in Melbourne. During the break, the team worked on the W15, which will be much appreciated by Lewis Hamilton. F1 2024 has gotten off to a rocky start for Mercedes, and things got much worse in the Australian Grand Prix when neither George Russell nor Hamilton made it to the finish line. Russell was chasing Fernando Alonso until he crashed in the final stages, while Hamilton retired due to an engine problem. Will Suzuka see the debut of a more reliable Mercedes W15? Let's find out. Having finished within a tenth of a second of Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc's P1 pace in the last practice session, Hamilton lamented the inconsistency of the W15 following his elimination in Q2. As Formula One heads to the Japanese Grand Prix, the fourth leg on the F1 2024 calendar, Hamilton will be ecstatic to learn from Mercedes CEO Toto Wolff that the team has really focused on making the W15 more consistent. After a difficult weekend in Australia, it's good to get back racing in Japan this weekend, said Wolff. Since Melbourne, we have been focused on improving the consistency of the W15. The car has shown signs of strong performance on occasion, but we've struggled to deliver this at the critical moments across the first three races. Suzuka, with its famously fast sweeps mixed with some low-speed content, plus elevation change, will provide a different challenge to the circuits we've raced at so far. It is therefore another good opportunity to build on our learnings and analyse the work that has been undertaken since Australia. Formula One's annual visit to Suzuka, Japan, has historically occurred in the latter rounds of the World Championship, although this year's Japanese GP was sooner than usual. However, Wolff is of the opinion that this will not have any major impact on the track conditions or the ever-enthusiastic and dynamic Japanese F1 crowd. We head to Japan at a slightly earlier time of year than usual this season, Wolff noted. Whilst it is unlikely to have a major impact, it will be important to understand any differences that this causes in terms of track conditions. One thing that won't change is the remarkable support from the Japanese fans. It is always a fantastic atmosphere at Suzuka, and I am sure it will be the same once again this weekend. Mercedes, after redesigning their vehicle throughout the off-season, has not only failed to challenge for the lead in any of the first three races, but also seems to have slipped even farther behind the competition. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both struggled in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, with the latter's best result being 7th in the first race. Russell's speed was further exacerbated by a double DNF in the Australian Grand Prix. Mercedes seems to have finally come to terms with the fact that something has really gone wrong, despite their optimism about their chances of challenging incumbent constructors champions Red Bull during 3 days of pre-season testing in Bahrain. There are always correlation issues in every year in every team, and there always will be correlation issues between what you see in the factory and what you see on the track, because the factory is a sort of reduced version of reality, Allison explained in Mercedes' public post-race debrief. It is not the same as driving a car on a real track, on the actual asphalt of the actual circuit, with all its infinite detail and complexity. You have simplified models back here in the factory, and those simplified models are powerful for steering you one way or the other. But all of them have their shortcomings, and all of them have their correlation issues. In large measure, the models that we have, the simulation tools we have, are amazingly good at keeping us on the straight and narrow and guiding us towards more lap time. The devil's always in the detail. In the area of the high to low speed balance, we could do with some improvement in that area of the models, because there we have some difference between what we are seeing on the track and what we are seeing back in virtual world. And those differences, if we can bring them closer together, then it just allows us to be more accurate with the projections we make back here, address the things that we believe are holding the car back. Undoubtedly, the most disheartening performance of Mercedes' season so far came in Australia. The Silver Arrows had come to Melbourne hoping that the Albert Park circuit would be a good fit for their W15 chassis. Although the team seemed to have achieved a breakthrough the night before, with Hamilton and Russell both being within striking distance in final practice before Saturday's qualifying session, that anticipation did not materialise in Friday's opening sessions. But when it counted, that seeming speed vanished, as Russell could only manage 7th place, while Hamilton shocked everyone by retiring in Q2 after qualifying 11th. The race was disappointing overall, with Hamilton retiring due to an engine problem in the early stages, and Russell crashing under controversial circumstances on the penultimate lap while chasing Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin for 6th. We are starting to see a pattern emerge, that most weekends we have a period in the weekend where we are feeling good about the car, confident about the car, but then in the paying sessions, in qualifying and the race, that slips through our fingers, Alison said. And if we were trying to draw that pattern together, then probably the strongest correlation that we can make at the moment is that our competitiveness drops when the track is warm, when the day is at its warmest, and therefore the tyre temperatures rise with those of the track. The times when we have been at our best have been all in the sessions which are the coolest, and so that gives us some clues about what we need to do as we move forward from here. But from FP3 to qualifying in Melbourne, there was not a setup change. Alison concedes that Mercedes will have to be very experimental at this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix, as expectations have been reset following Melbourne's setback. While Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren seem certain in making the most of their packages, concerns have been raised that the Suzuka circuit's characteristics might provide a unique challenge for Mercedes. It is a track with plenty of fast corners and also some slowish hairpins, so a real test of the car, Alison said. Our job will be to make sure that we are attacking some of those things I discussed earlier. The tyre temperature issue, the high to low speed balance, and all the activities between now and then will be to try to work out in the simulator and see what we can do in simulation to influence those things. The legendary Suzuka circuit, designed by Honda, has a lengthy straight, a variety of bends at varying speeds, and the first sector's incessant S's, which poses the greatest challenge to drivers and their machines. After seeing the very rough track conditions in Bahrain, Jeddah and Melbourne, many top engineers are looking forward to Suzuka as the most definitive test of their vehicle's abilities. The Japanese Grand Prix is happening earlier than usual this year, instead of in the fall. As a result, clubs will have a better idea of how competitive they are now compared to last year's finish, and how far they've come this winter. In addition, this is the first race back for Pirelli's new tyre design, which debuted in July at Silverstone to assist the tyre manufacturer in keeping up with the higher downforce levels since the beginning of 2023, removing one more variable compared to the earlier races. It would seem that the calendar turn is excellent news for Mercedes. According to Alison, the team has found out that their W15's performance drops as the temperature rises, which is the major reason for their troubles this year. If we were trying to draw that pattern together, then probably the strongest correlation that we can make at the moment is that our competitiveness drops when the track is warm, when the day is at its warmest and therefore the tyre temperatures rise with those of the track, Alison said. It would be bold to bet against their main rival Max Verstappen from winning the Japanese Grand Prix for the third time in a row. Regardless, the genuine strengths and limitations of the 2024 field are about to be revealed on a track as demanding as Suzuka. What do you think? It's Mercedes just having a bad start? Let us know in the comments down below.